All right, welcome everybody to the first ever Canes Supporting Canes webinar. We've got an exciting topic today, and we've got a great guest speaker today, Althea Harris from the Small Business Administration. My name is Brian Breslin. I'm the director for the Launchpad, and I want to thank the Alumni Association for putting this together and working with us on this in such short notice. For those of you who are local to the community, I want to also urge you to check out the University of Miami's coronavirus update page. It's coronavirus.miami.edu, so you can stay up to date on what's going on at the university throughout this pandemic. And I also urge you to check out the Alumni Association website, which is at alumni.miami.edu, for more updates on exciting stuff that might be going on virtually for now, and hopefully back in person later on in the year. And for those of you who have small businesses and need help and want some guidance and are part of the hurricane community, go to thelaunchpad.org and check out some of the resources we have there, or request some assistance, mentorship, or any other help you can think of. And I want to introduce today our guest speaker. So we're deeply grateful and very honored to have her, Miss Althea Harris. She's been helping businesses for over 25 years when she started her federal career in 1993 at the U.S. Department of Commerce under the late Secretary Ronald H. Brown. There she traveled worldwide in support of small and medium-sized exporters. Then she helped small business owners compete for federal contracts while at the U.S. GSA. Having held several positions within the SBA office in Miami since 1999, Althea now serves as the supervisory lead economic development specialist, leading a marketing and outreach team serving 15 of the district's 24 county territory, and advocates on behalf of the over 500,000 small business owners in those counties. She's also the Faith and Community-Based Initiative Coordinator. Althea also happens to be a graduate of Howard University and the University of Miami School of Law. Althea is also active in her communities, currently serving as a board member for Christ Journey Church in Coral Gables and Miami Youth for Christ. Thank you very much, Althea. This has been such a great pleasure getting to know you before this, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you have to say on this webinar.
Thank you, Brian. Me too. I'm so glad to be with you, and I really do appreciate you all inviting me, and the alumni office for including me. It's a pleasure to be with you, fellow Canes. And it seems like forever ago, but I really did. I'm one of those weirdos who loved law school. And so I'm pleased to be able to share what I know about the federal government's response to the coronavirus as it relates to small businesses.
Great. One last sort of administrative thing. So for those of you who are watching online, chat is turned off, but you can submit your questions through the Q&A panel. The button's at the bottom of the screen. This whole talk will be recorded and shared later for those who aren't able to watch in person. But with that said, Althea, the floor is yours.
All right, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get right to it. And I will warn you all that I'm going to try and go through these slides as quickly as possible so that we can get to the questions, because I know that that's really where we can get at a lot of good information. So our district director is Victoria Guerrero, and she is glad that I'm having the opportunity to talk to you as well. And just the important thing on this slide is that normally when there's a disaster, SBA sends folks out from the disaster office to answer questions. But since this is a disaster that's a pandemic and everyone is required to stay at home, we're not able to do that. So we're picking up the slack here in the South Florida District Office. So I'll start with the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. The EIDL, that's what we call it, EIDL, is a loan program designed to assist businesses that are interrupted because of a disaster. They are working capital loans that are used for fixed debts that you have in your business. like payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that you would ordinarily be able to pay, but you can't because of the disaster. Very important. This loan is not intended to help you replace your sales or profits, and it's not to help you expand your business. The other part of SBA is available for you in that way if you want to expand your business. Now, the economic injury disaster loans are different from the physical damage loans in that they tend to have long lead times for the expiration of the declaration. So you have until December 18th of this year. Small businesses and nonprofits can apply for the loan. Interest rates are 3.75% for small businesses, 2.75% for private nonprofits, and now faith-based organizations have been included as well. The term of a disaster loan can be as long as 30 years. They're designed that way to help with your cash flow. The maximum loan amount is $2 million. Now, the CARES Act, which hasn't even been around for 3 weeks, added a dimension to the economic injury disaster loan that provides for potentially up to $10,000 loan advance to applicants, and that money does not have to be repaid if used appropriately. And it's designed to provide some immediate economic relief. Now, a lot of folks fixate and zero in on that the CARES Act says that that loan advance will be available to businesses 3 days after their successful application. But a successful application does not mean the moment that you click submit. It's the moment we decide to give a loan. So that can take longer than 3 days, as you might expect, considering the fact that thousands of people are applying for these loans probably every day. When it comes to criteria, history has to be acceptable to SBA. Now, I obviously understand that these are exceptional times, and one of the other requirements is that you'll be able to repay the loan. And we understand that that's challenging right now. We take all of that into consideration. Pretty much any business located in the United States that is owned by citizens and legal permanent residents are included in this disaster. So you don't have to worry about that by way of criteria. Now, economic injury disaster loans under $25,000 do not require collateral, but those over $25,000 do require collateral. Collateral is not a deal breaker for SBA, but if you have collateral, you have to pledge it. And it must be pledged by people who own 20% or more of the business. Keep in mind that the SBA's economic injury disaster loans that go out to borrowers comes from the United States government. This is not money that you go to a bank for. You come directly to the SBA at our website to apply, and the money will come from the federal government. The website to apply is sba.gov/disaster. Really important, there are no fees or costs associated with this loan, nor do you have to take it. So I urge you to apply for it if you believe that it can help you, but you don't have to take it once we offer you money. We might offer you more money than you want to take. You can decline the amount that we're offering you, and we may offer you not as much as you'd like. You are certainly able to request additional funds if you'd like to do that. Now, you can have more than one SBA loan at a time. So it may be that 5 years ago you borrowed under the SBA loan guarantee program and bought a building, and you're still paying on that note. and you were adversely affected by Irma, and you got an SBA disaster loan for the physical damage to your property, you can apply for the economic injury disaster loan, and you can apply for the Paycheck Protection Plan, which we'll talk about next. So you can have multiple loans at the same time. And we're asking if you've applied for the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan early on in the process. This disaster was declared on January 31st. If you applied early on and were denied, we're asking you to reapply. And even if you're denied today, you have 6 months to offer the SBA new information and submit a written request for reconsideration. Eligible entities are small businesses with 500 employees or less. 1099 employees can apply, sole proprietors, most private nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and agricultural cooperatives can. Ineligible entities, I believe this first bullet now is changed, that agricultural enterprises may apply, but gambling concerns may not. Casinos and racetracks, real estate developers, and that means folks who are primarily engaged in subdividing real property into lots, developing them, and reselling them. SBA does not support real estate developers in any of its programs, including the disaster programs. Private nonprofits, ineligible, government entities are not eligible. But if you have a letter from the IRS and you operate under sections 501C, D, or E, you can apply. The exception is 501C6 organizations, which are typically chambers and trade associations. They are ineligible. And so you can apply, as I mentioned, at sba.gov/disaster. Our disaster customer service center number is 800-659-2955, and our email address for that disaster customer service center is disaster customer service, all one word, disaster customer service @sba.gov. You can get help with your economic injury disaster loan application, and we urge you to do that with our small business development centers. The local one here in Miami is at FIU. We have SCORE chapters throughout the nation, throughout the state. There are 3 women's business centers in our district, which is everything south of Orlando. There is a Veterans Business Outreach Center in North Florida that you can access as well. Now, the Paycheck Protection Program is the hot new thing that everybody wants to know about. Keep in mind, SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program that I just talked about has been around for decades. The Paycheck Protection Program has been around for not quite 3 weeks, all right? So it's designed to provide an incentive to employers to bring their workers back onto the payroll or keep them on the payroll. The Paycheck Protection Program, the thing about it everybody loves, it is a forgivable loan if you utilize the monies appropriately and as desired. The PPP will be available through June 30th of this year or until the money runs out. And there is an expectation that it will run out by the end of the week. So if you've already applied, great, hold tight. If you haven't, you've got to have an in with a banker. All small businesses are eligible. It is a loan with a 2-year term and an interest rate of 1%. You don't have to make any loan payments for the first 6 months. There's no collateral or personal guarantees required. There are no fees whatsoever associated with the PPP. The loan is to be utilized for certain expenses that were in existence before January 15th. And you can use it for certain expenses, which I'll go over, through June 30th if you still have any money from the PPP loan. It's 100% forgivable if you use the money appropriately. So again, this is for small businesses with less than 500 employees, sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed people, private nonprofits, veterans organizations, etc. Businesses in the hospitality and food industry that have more than one location can apply for those separate locations, as long as each location or those locations don't have more than 500 workers. Your business must have been in operation before February 15th to be eligible for the PPP. Now, the way you apply for this one is distinctly different from the economic injury disaster loan. This one, you must, apply with a lender. Now, the first ones who were able to make these loans were banks who already participate in SBA's 7A program. That has been wildly expanded to include federally insured deposit institutions, federally insured credit unions, Intuit, PayPal, Square, and all make loans under the PPP program. And that might be a way to go if you haven't gotten any traction anywhere else. And what I mean by that is, do not put in another application. If you've already put one in for the PPP, if you put it in at more than one bank, the first bank that puts it in is going to be the one that's going to be able to finish the deal, because it tracks your tax ID number. So once Bank A puts your tax ID number in, if you give your tax ID number to Bank B won't be able to do anything, because the system will kick it out, because we already know that you're already in there. So, I mean, I hate to waste people's time, but going to Bank B and having them say they can't make the loan because your number's already in the system might be a way to find out how you're coming along with the PPP application, because part of the process is to put in your application into SBA's online system. Anyway, you need to go with your local lender. These early deadlines, for when you could do it have come and gone. You must submit your payroll documentation. Some lenders will help you, many will not. There is an SBA form, and when we get to the questions, I forgot to look it up, and I always forget the numbers. I'll put it into the chat or whatever feature we're using, and tell you the name of the SBA form you're going to need. And I recommend that you have that completed so that when your lender calls you, you can immediately send it to them so that they'll know what they're dealing with. All right, so you're gonna have to show how much you spent on payroll, average monthly payroll in 2019. All right, sole proprietors can submit schedules, etc. You're gonna need tax returns. They're gonna ask you for a lot of individual pieces of paper to determine whether or not they wanna make the loan to you. All right, so again, it's open to sole proprietors, self-employed, 1099s, and small businesses. But whatever you are, you're gonna need to show that kind of paperwork to the lender. The maximum amount is your monthly average payroll in 2019 multiplied by 2.5, because the PPP is designed to meet payroll for 2 months. The 0.5 is a little extra for the other stuff that we say you can use the PPP for. The maximum loan amount under the PPP is $10 million. Payroll costs are salary, wages, commission, tips, cap $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. It includes certain employee benefits as well, sick leave, state and local taxes that are assessed on compensation. Same general thing for the sole proprietor or the 1099 contractor, wages, income, and net earnings from self-employment. Sole proprietors or 1099s can submit their payroll processing records. You have to establish that you have a payroll, and you have to show that to the lender's satisfaction. Now, here's the details on the forgiveness. The PPP expects you to spend at least 75% of the loan proceeds on payroll and the costs associated with payroll, the ones I articulated. So it's not, I did not articulate the fees that you pay to your payroll processing company. If I had that expense, I would not take PPP money to pay it. Now, the remaining 25% you can also spend on payroll, or you can spend it on mortgage interest payments, rent and lease payments, and the payments for utilities. Now, this grouping of expenses, you must have had the obligation to pay these back before February 15th. So if you just signed a lease in April, you get a PPP loan, you cannot use PPP money to make your lease payment for your new space. It has to be for your obligations that began before February 15th. If you stick to what we talked about here, you shouldn't have any trouble getting your 100% of the loan forgiven. What's obviously critical here is your ability to maintain pristine records of how you spent the money. And in fact, when it comes to all of these programs that I talked about, the money will likely be given to you in phases. So if you need $100,000 for payroll for 2 months, you're probably only going to get $50,000, and then you'll get an additional $50,000 after you prove that you spent the first $50,000 on payroll. Same thing with the economic injury disaster loan. SBA is going to demand to know how you spent the first batch of money we gave you. So it's important to have crisp, easy to understand records that you can easily demonstrate to your lender or SBA so that you can keep getting the additional funds needed for your business. Now, on the PPP, remember, it is a loan, but it's forgivable. And so you don't have to pay anything on the loan for the first 6 months. And that's calculated so that you get the money, you make payroll for the next 2 months, and immediately, I recommend you immediately send the bank your proof of how you spent the money and ask for forgiveness of the loan. The bank has 60 days to respond to you, and that leaves you an additional 60 days for the foolishness that usually occurs, right? You forgot something. This wasn't clear. That email didn't go through. I lost your paperwork. Can you send it again? Ralph doesn't work here anymore. Can you send it again? Okay, so you have 2 months of all that in order to make sure that your loan is forgiven by the time any first payment would be required. Forgiveness is based on your ability to maintain or quickly rehire employees and maintaining their salary levels. Forgiveness will be reduced if your full-time head count declines or if salaries and wages decrease. However, on the Treasury's website, in their fact sheet, it does say that salaries can decrease, but not more than 25%. Also, I get this question a lot. I have 5 employees. 3 are on unemployment compensation and don't want to come back because they're making more money collecting unemployment. They don't want to come back. No problem. We are not going to know that you did not specifically hire back Joe, John Q. Public, and Manny Fernandez, okay? But you've got to find 3 people to get on payroll so that you maintain the 5 employees that your loan application is based on, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, there's a debt relief program that was incorporated into all of this. So businesses who have SBA 7A loans, SBA will pay the principal and interest of your loan for you for 6 months. Also, remember how I said if you have an SBA physical disaster loan from IRMA, you don't have to pay on that loan. That's automatic. You have to pay on it through the end of this year. But whatever your monthly due date is on that loan, you'll have to start repaying in January of 2021. That's automatic. So you don't have to worry about that. And the whole point is to ease your cash flow challenges that you may be having now because of the pandemic. Now, another program, it's a pilot, is SBA's Express Bridge Loan Program. We're now finding a whole lot of people utilizing it, but it allows you, if you already have a business relationship with an SBA Express lender, you can access up to $25,000 in a loan from that lender. If you get one of those and you've applied for the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the disaster loan will pay off that bridge loan so that you don't have to, whatever the requirements are for that express loan won't eat up your capital when it kicks in for whatever deferment period when it ends. So we haven't seen a lot of traction on that, but that is there. So here's some important contact information. And with that, I'll leave you all to read that and write that down. If you'd like to receive emails from us, we don't spam you. We pretty much just tell you about our webinars and our virtual office hours that we have every day to answer questions. You can see the links on our page there, sba.gov/South Florida. You can also go there to join our email list. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of the website. And if you want to email us, our address is there, southflorida_do@sba.gov. Okay, with that, I hope I did that fast enough so that we can get to some of the questions.
Althea, thank you so much. That was perfect timing.
Okay,
One of the questions that was asked a couple times was, will these slides be shared anywhere? I know the video will be on our website.
Yeah, so you could watch over and over again. But no, we typically don't make those slides available. Every time we did that, something changed. Because of the CARES Act is being only 3 weeks old, not even, it put a big burden on the federal government to implement the mandates. And so even still, Treasury on their website is adding to their list of FAQs. We just recently did, there was an interim final rule that went out. So there's clarification of these programs constantly. So, and very soon we probably won't even be talking about the PPP program again.
So let's dive into some of the questions. So a lot of our audience sent in questions in advance, and I also crafted a few questions too. So hopefully we have enough time. We have about 30 minutes left. And hopefully we'll get to as many as we can. And for those of you whose questions aren't answered in time, feel free to email us and we'll route them to Ms. Harris and the SBA. Or you can reach out to the SBA directly on their website, sba.gov. It was on the last slide, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll break these up a little bit into sort of buckets. So let's talk about eligibility questions. Is someone eligible to do both EIDL and PPP?
Yes, you can apply for anything you want as long as you're eligible.
Wait,
yeah. Really important. Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, because I'm attempting to answer yes and no so we can have more time, but this is really important. If you apply for SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and you should, and you apply for the PPP, and you should, you may not use those two separate federal buckets of money for the same simultaneous purpose. So remember, PPP is all about payroll. So if you get an EIDL loan, you cannot use it to meet your payroll obligations while you're using PPP to also meet your payroll obligations. So let's just say you get an EIDL loan tomorrow and you get a PPP loan on May 1st. You can use the EIDL loan to meet your payroll costs right now. But the moment you get that PPP money, you must stop using the EIDL money and start using the PPP money. And then when the PPP money vanishes 2 months later, you can resume with the EIDL money. So I just want to say that. Don't use them for the same purpose at the same time.
Is there a way that you recommend for how people should sort of do that accounting? Because
right,
once all that money's in your account, it sort of all swishes together, right?
I know. And so what I'm thinking, right, is that particularly if you get PPP money from a bank that's not yours, just own and open an account right there and let them drop it into it. And then, you know what, that's going to be the simplest thing to do. And it's going to be the easiest thing because the bank has the records already.
Okay. Have there been any EIDL changes or changes to EIDL since it was first announced? Or was it more of a misunderstanding by the
well,
people hoping to borrow?
It has, in as much as the CARES Act added that dimension about the loan advance. And that has caused a lot of questions and confusion. And even then, you know, one, people think it's 10,000 in 3 days. It's not. It's up to 10,000 3 days after we say you're eligible for it. Then SBA put out some language about recently about it's designed for $1,000 per employee, which for payroll. It implied that it was to be used for payroll. And so, you know, there's a lot of confusion about that, but the long and short of it is it's a loan advance up to $10,000. You will not determine how much the advance is, SBA will. And on your loan, SBA will determine how much your loan is. And that's why it's so important that if you get that advance, whatever dollar amount it is, that you use it for a legitimate business purpose, because that is prescribed by SBA. That is your fixed monthly expenses like payroll, accounts payable, things you would have normally paid for. Don't go buy anything you don't have, you know, an old invoice from. Just don't do it. Not with that money. Find some other money to do it with, so that when you get to show SBA how you use the money, you can get more.
Okay. So are independent contractors able to apply for PPP?
Yes.
So is there a process that just a distinct process for an independent contractor to apply, or same process?
Same process. Go to the bank you want to do business with. Oh, I'm going to get that form for you, and you give it to them and give the bank whatever they ask you for. And okay, it's SBA form 2483. Ms. Williams, if you could put that in the chat or somewhere where everybody can see it. SBA form 2483 is the application form you're going to have to share with the lender. It's great for you to have that handy and ready when they get in touch with you. You might also take a peek at the lender's form, what they have to fill out. And that form number is SBA form 2484. 2484. So that you make sure that you're covering all the bases.
So another good question that came in the Q&A. So when will the EIDL $2 million be available to apply for? The only application available is a 10K advance. That's sort of the preliminary application to determine eligibility, right? And then after the fact, you get to amount that you're
It's
seeking?
the same application is for both.
Okay.
So what SBA is attempting to do is get the congressionally mandated money out, right? Because that's what Congress said you have to do. And it's fascinating. My 10-year-old is learning about the 3 branches of government, so we have to do it, right? So because that's what they said to do. So that's I think it's well, let me not say that. Okay, so that's what we're doing.
Okay. What do you recommend for people who have been commingling their funds, or rather have not set or don't have separate business bank accounts and have been running a business through their personal accounts? I know that, but it happens.
I know.
So is there any hope for those folks?
I'm sure there is. It's just
Should
so
they
hard.
just apply to open a new account with the bank that they're trying to get the loan through?
The reason why I flinched or whatever at the question was because that's problematic. The commingling of the funds makes it hard for you to demonstrate and show what you need to show about your business expenses. So that's why that's not good. And then, yes, I would immediately start doing things the right way. Because Congress is talking about appropriating more money. Well, so maybe you'll have another crack at this thing, but you need to be ready for it. And the truth is, this thing, let me tell you something, what's so interesting about all of this to me is that everything people like me and you at the Launchpad have been telling small businesses forever is really now coming to a head. So if you didn't, pull together your dream team of your accountant, your lawyer, and your banker, wow, it would have been really great if you knew a banker right about now, to help you out with this process, and the CPA to pull together your documents for you. But, I get it. I mean, I'm married to an entrepreneur, and, thank God he's, it took a while, but, he does it the right way. And it makes all the difference in the world, but it does. It's a struggle in the beginning, and I understand that.
There was another good question that came in. If I have multiple businesses, can each of them qualify for the loan advance on separate applications?
Yes, if they have separate tax ID numbers.
Okay. And then each of those businesses would still have to adhere to the standard eligibility rules on their own independent.
Correct,
right?
But it's a little crazy thing, right? Because yes, but at the same time, we are going to look at the owners, and SBA has cares about affiliates. So, but we're mindful of what we're attempting to accomplish here.
Right. Let's keep going. So if someone's bank isn't participating, do you recommend they go try a PayPal or one of these other solutions?
Sure. I mean, you got to get the money somewhere. You got to apply somewhere. And the large banks, have done a lot in terms of the PPP, but small regional banks, small banks you have probably never considered are also able and are doing PPP loans.
So will businesses have to declare this loan as income and pay taxes on this amount for next year?
I believe the answer to that question is no.
Okay.
I've heard that question asked and answered, and I believe the answer was no.
Okay.
Especially with PPP because, well, it's a forgivable loan, right? So no, my recollection is that the answer is no. But economic injury disaster loan, that's also not considered income.
Okay. Several people asked, what's the estimated timeline for hearing back once they've submitted an EIDL loan or EIDL application?
Good. Excellent question. Okay, so under normal circumstances, which is to say, SBA is maybe managing, a handful or even maybe, 50 disasters at one time, it would take about 18 to 21 days to process an approval. And of course, these are not normal circumstances. So I wouldn't think you'd hear from us in a shorter time frame than that. We are ramping up and hiring for customer service representatives, for underwriters and loan processors. So we're hoping to ramp up our ability and capacity to do more economic injury disaster loans in the near future.
Okay, another good question that was in there was, what exactly is included or counts as payroll costs?
Huh. Yeah, I know. I love to read the Treasury one because it there's a Treasury fact sheet on their website, treasury.gov/cares for the CARES Act. Okay, what counts as payroll costs? Payroll costs include salary, wages, commissions, or tips capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. Employee benefits, including costs for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, allowance for separation or dismissal, payments required for the provisions of group health care benefits, including insurance premiums, and payment of any retirement benefit. Also, state and local taxes assessed on compensation are all included. For a sole proprietor or independent contractor, payroll costs include wages, commissions, income or net earnings from self-employment capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each person. So if you have an employee who's making $150,000 a year, when you do your calculation for your average monthly payroll, don't include 150,000, do the calculation at 100,000. Because it'll throw off your numbers.
Okay. And so 1099 employees, they count towards the payroll? You mentioned in your slides, but I figured people have asked 4 or 5 times.
Right. So, okay, so when it comes to the PPP, 1099 folks have to apply for themselves. They are not included in a business's payroll costs or calculations. So they have to apply for themselves under the PPP.
Okay, so there's another question here. There's been several questions to, basically splitting hairs on K1s and distributions versus payroll and all that. So one of the questions was, I'm an owner of an LLC, taxed as a partnership. Are guaranteed payments included in payroll costs? I would assume no.
Yeah, I don't know those weedy type questions.
Yeah.
Answers that's gonna, be more of a CPA type question.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that K1 folks, listen, I was just talking to a colleague that, look, when you do distributions in your business, while we all understand why you do it, I don't think the Treasury likes it, because you take your distributions all year, but you don't pay the tax you owe the federal government until, especially if you do an extension, you don't pay your taxes until October of the next year. The Internal Revenue Service expects you to pay your taxes as you go. That's why they want everybody on payroll, but, and that's why, in part, it's problematic, when you get to this place, in this kind of process, because it's hard for you to show your quote payroll because you haven't paid any taxes in payroll.
Definitely, I know. I can see. I've seen a lot of these types of patterns set up by people when they start their businesses, and eventually, as the business
because they
matures,
want to mitigate the tax, and I understand that. Who wants to pay taxes? Nobody. But but there's just, and you see, you can get by with this for a long time until the pandemic, or until some other thing, like you want to expand your business, and the banker's like, well, show me your tax returns, and all you show are all these expenses. What that shows to them is you don't have any money to pay the loan, so you can't expand. So at some point, you have to rectify all that to get where you want to go.
Althea, can you tell us a little bit about the Main Street program that was recently announced? Or is that not part of the SBA?
That's not part of us.
Okay.
I am aware, generally speaking, of Main Street USA, but I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Like how that ties into this.
Okay, because I think there had been some confusion about the Main Street lending program, but I think there's so many things going on now that people, it's
Right.
hard to keep track of what everything, what the status is of everything. Is there a simple way for people to check the status of their applications?
Yeah, no. SBA economic injury disaster loans, unfortunately, there's no way to check on that. We think about it, we can't really spare people to answer that question when we really need folks to be processing loan applications. So if you applied through the streamlined process, you got a loan confirmation number, just hang in there, just hang in there.
Is there a, going back to loan forgiveness, there's been a few questions on that. Is there a specific either maximum or minimum number of full-time employees that need to be employed in order to qualify for forgiveness?
No, there's
It could
nothing
be
that
one
I've,
person or,
yeah, I mean, it's a 1099 contractor is one person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a cap though, isn't there? Isn't it maximum 500 employees?
Right, the cap is 500, right? So,
Yeah.
but even still, right, like if you own a hotel or 3 hotels, and as long as each one of them has less than 500 employees, and ideally a separate tax ID number, you're okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. There are over 50 questions were submitted, so we're doing our best. Some of them are very specific. So to the audience, I apologize if we can't answer something that is so nuanced that you probably need a lawyer and a CPA working at the same table in order to figure them out. But
so Astrid asks, hi Astrid, about she applied for stuff and this is a constant thing that we hear that it's like radio silence. Okay, so when it comes to the PPP, y'all, bombard your bank to find out. See, it's really important to know if they put you in for the PPP, because if they didn't, let me tell you this. Your bank knows almost instantly whether or not you're going to be approved for the PPP. So if they tell you they're waiting on us, they're not waiting on us. Okay, just telling you that right now, almost instantly. And when they put you in and get an approval, the money for you is grabbed and they have 10 days to get it out to you. So there's a little bit of the timeline, right?
Okay.
So they've got 10 days to get you that money. And if they put you in and you're approved, the money's captured. So nobody else can get it, which is a problem if they are not going to give you the money, because now Jane can't get any money because your $100,000 is held up. So I just wanted to share that little bit of tidbit I got today.
So there's also a couple questions about use of these funds for capital investments, but I think you've sort of talked about this over and over, that they can only be used for payroll and rent, mortgage, and utilities.
Right.
And that's
mortgage interest payments for the PPP. Right. Yes.
Right. Right. Same with idle too, right?
No.
Idle, you can't use it for capital improvements.
Right. You can't use it. You can't use it to expand anything to make your business better. You can only use it to pay your fixed debts that you would normally have had to pay, but for the disaster, you can't pay it. Oh, by the way, on that note, if your business was going downhill anyway, the idle loan, you're not eligible, right? So eventually we're going to find out that your business was going downhill. So the pandemic might have been the nail in the coffin, the last one. But generally speaking, if your business was doing fine, the idle loan is for you. It's a far more flexible loan product, has a longer term. I know why people want the PPP, but with the idle, you can use it for payroll, for rent, mortgage, for your utilities, your Wi-Fi, your, someone was on my phone today, your accounts payable, people who help you make your business go. You can use all that. But the PPP is exclusively 75% for payroll. You can use up to the whole shebang for payroll. But if you don't, you minimally have to use 75% for payroll and 25% can be for those certain other expenses. And, you know, like say you use 74% for payroll, well, then your loan will be, your forgiveness will be reduced. How that 1% is taken into account, I don't know. I don't know if they take 1% off your total loan amount and you have to pay that. I don't know. But so just try to make sure you're using 75% or more.
So one of the questions came in that said, bank said we were awaiting closing. Does that mean approved?
Does that mean approved? It might mean approved. I mean, okay, so in a normal lending process, right? You're approved, right? When you bought your house, they approved you for your mortgage, but you had to go through this closing process, gathering all the documents, et cetera. So the implication to me, based on the way, the normal understanding of those terms, might mean you're approved. That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay, that sounds
That's
positive.
promising, right?
Yeah. So Jacqueline Tibbet had a great question in here. How can we find more information on the new 7A lenders? I haven't seen PayPal, all FDIC insured banks, et cetera, only a small list of new 7A SBA partnerships.
Well, you heard it here then. You know, about Intuit, Square, and PayPal. And I don't know, I would assume Treasury lists who is an eligible entity to make these loans. But I don't know that. I could find out from my colleague, but I don't know. I assume Treasury lists that.
Okay, let's see. A lot of people have been asking questions about Wells Fargo, but
yeah, I don't, listen, I mean, they reached their cap apparently fairly quickly. I don't, know how true that is. And then there was some talk that the federal government slapped their hand. I don't know, but they've made, I'm sure their fair share of loans. Someone's asking whether the economic injury disaster loan is capped at $15,000 or whether the $2 million is still in place. Yeah, the $2 million is still in place. But you have to understand, SBA is trying to help as many people as quickly as possible. So that doesn't mean you won't get a $2 million loan. It's just a question of when we get to your application.
There was a couple of interesting questions about people who hadn't gotten their 2019 taxes finished yet. So are they still able to apply, or do they have to have all their 2019 taxes done in order to apply?
No, you can, listen, technically your 2019 tax is not even due until July 15th. So you can use your tax returns for 2018. You'll need a P&L, your financials for 2019. And probably first quarter 2020 as well.
Right, and I assume payroll stubs and things like that.
Everything, yeah, you're gonna need a lot of payroll. Just start gathering it now because you're gonna need it.
So we got time for, I think, maybe 2 more questions because we're running out of time. Althea, so one of the recurring questions in this was surrounding whether or not this money will run out, and that they've been hearing reports on CNBC that the money will run out today. What's the best option?
Right before we got on this afternoon, I called my colleague, and Monday we had done over 1 million loans under the PPP program for $247 billion and change. And my colleague just told me today we've done 300 billion. And the allocation for it in the CARES Act was 349 billion. So yes, I believe it is true. This money will run out very quickly. So it won't, I can't see it making it to the weekend.
So
that's why I keep saying my EIDL loan that's been around for decades is a great product to get. No, it's not forgivable. Yes, you've got to pay it, but in some respects, it feels like it was easier to get, even though a lot of people haven't gotten it yet. But it did come with that, loan advance that doesn't have to be repaid. So.
Right. No, and the terms on it are unheard of in traditional banking or traditional lending.
For sure.
So,
Incidentally, not that this would apply to anybody on this call, but just in case, you know, your neighbor asks or your brother-in-law, if you've defaulted on any federal debt, like you didn't pay your student loans when you were at UM, things like that, that's a deal breaker for the federal government. We're not going to give you more money when you owe us money. Same thing with taxes. So if you owe on your 2018 taxes, you need to get into a payment plan quick, to now probably be eligible for an EIDL loan. So you got to get right with the federal government to ask them for more money.
okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, just like any loan, there's got to be an approval process, right? So
you'd be surprised.
Let's see if there's any last questions that I think haven't been covered. Oh, sorry, there's so many questions that came in, which is great.
Right, so let me just go over this one more time with payroll, with the PPP. 75% of the loan has to be used for payroll. 25%, the remaining 25% can be used for payroll, or those certain other expenses. Remember, with PPP, it's for payroll going forward from the day you get the money. You cannot pay yourself back for payroll before you get the money. Don't use the 25% for anything other than payroll or mortgage interest payments, rent, and utility payments, all of which you had due and owing before February 15th, the obligation to pay before the 15th of February.
Okay, so I think one last question that we already answered a couple of times. Do these programs apply to nonprofits? They do, except for 501c6, correct?
Right, that's correct. So yeah, nonprofits can apply for the economic injury disaster loan. They can also apply for the PPP loan.
Okay, so I think
was widely expanded to
include
more people. Oh, it went quickly.
We got 2 minutes. I mean, we can answer some more questions if you want, but I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Oh, that's
I've already
okay.
answered a ton. So,
credit unions are approved if they are federally insured.
Okay.
Listen, so I'm just kind of scrolling through these questions. Listen, just apply. Don't let the fact that you don't have answers to some of these questions stop you. Just apply, okay? You don't have to take it if you don't ultimately want it. If you want less, you can say so. If you want more, you can say so. But what you can't do is you can't get any money unless you apply. So just apply. And don't say no for us, okay? Don't go looking at your credit score and say, oh, they're never gonna give me a loan. Just apply. I mean, let us say no, but don't you say no for us, okay?
I agree wholeheartedly. You can't get something if you don't ask for it, right? So
That's right.
You gotta shoot your shot.
You gotta shoot your shot. That's right.
Althea, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I also want to thank Doreen Williams, who's been critical in putting all this together with the Alumni Association, and Brandon Palmisano for all the tech support that he gave us to get this going. For all of you out there, Hurricanes, stay safe. You have the university here as a resource. You have the SBA as a resource to help you in these times. If you have any questions after this, send us an email. We'll put this video up online, and I hope everyone applies for both the EIDL and the PPP loans tonight on their bank websites or PayPal or wherever they can. Any other closing words?
No, just I wish you all the best. Go for it. And what I usually like to make sure I tell people is, these programs are here for you, but do be mindful of what you're getting yourself into. Please be thoughtful and utilize the resources around you, like the Launchpad and at UM and at, the SBA's resource partners, whoever you can talk to about how to ideally help your business pivot But, you know, keep in mind, when you take this money, you're taking it from the federal government, and the federal government is enormous and powerful. So I'm not saying don't apply. If you think this money can help you, go ahead and apply for it. Just understand that you're going to end up owing the federal government, and, you know, we're not nice about non-payment. So, but, you know, I'm not going to tell you don't apply, but do try and focus on whether or not you can, your business can survive. And if not, how can you pivot so that this debt doesn't become crushing to you? But we're here to help you. And you all will have our contact information, right, that you can share with anyone who reaches out to you?
Yeah, we'll share it.
Perfect.
And we'll keep updating our website on the launchpad.org. We have a coronavirus resource page with tons of resources out there for ways for people to find info and get help. And as things change and as the government rolls out new programs, we'll update that page to keep people abreast of all the latest and the greatest resources available for them. And so I recommend everybody check out the launchpad.org for help with their small business, the Alumni Association's website, alumni.miami.edu, miami.edu/coronavirus for updates from the university, and the SBA.gov. Look up the local websites, and also treasury.gov for updates on these programs. Althea, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you all so much for including me. I really appreciate it.